Could Samantha Maxis actually have an evil agenda, or potentially even always, within the Dark Ether saga? In this video, I want to bring you the most thorough analysis of Destroy Something Beautiful, the Easter egg song from Liberty Falls, created by Kevin Sherwood. In this analysis, I want to bring to light some evidence contained within the song that may change our entire perspective on Samantha Maxis and force us to reconsider her whole character and the nature of her relationship with Eddie Richtofen and the events of his family's death. This is going to be just one interpretation of the song. Of course, there are many different ways to look at this. So after you are done, let me know if you agree with my hypothesis or if you have any varying degrees of perspectives. To begin with, our speaker is a new voice in our collection of singers. This is Christina Scabia from the band Lucana Coil. We will discuss this new voice and the implications more towards the end of this video though. The first line, "So far all you say and do," evokes a person recounting the actions of another, almost in the sense that they have grown wary of the other person doing these things over and over. The fact that "so far" is on its own line, however, is an interesting instance of wordplay, as on its own, it indicates distance between these two people, something confirmed by the next section. This, to me, is all about Samantha and Eddie Richtofen's relationship, specifically Sam before her amnesia she experienced post being sent into the Dark Ether on Firebase Z, but we will get more into that later. Your voice still echoing in me, an ocean of tranquility, is an interesting metaphor. It could mean in this context that Eddie's words linger with Sam at this point in time. The following line may make it seem as if she is saying remembering Eddie's voice calms her. But interestingly, the Sea of Tranquility is the frozen ocean on the moon, possibly hinting at a positive recollection in her mind of the time when she had incredible power in the Etherverse, when she was in control of the zombies from within the MPD. In that sense, perhaps the voice she speaks of here isn't Eddie's, but her own. This is consistent with Sam's quarantine letters, wherein she writes to her childhood self. Sam confirms our suspicion here that "so far" in the first instance indicated distance, as she sings "so far away from you." Sam and Eddie are separated for a long time. He has moved on and built a life for himself. Sam, meanwhile, craves him from across the globe. The phrasing here suggests everything she does is motivated by this obsession, akin to how an addict chases their next high. This is a cyclical and generational story. In many ways, Eddie is the spiritual son of the Ether's Richtofens, their collaborative wish for a better, innocent version of themselves. We saw in Tag the Totem that Ultimus and Primus Richtofen harbored a sense of collective guilt for their actions. Not all for the same things, but they knew they were running out of a road. There was no rabbit of betrayal to survive in this life. As that wish to continue in the body of this me had condemned so many Richtofens for an incalculable number of years. Instead, Eddie was their hope to survive in mimetic, rather than genetic, form. In a sense, an adopted son. However, we still have the same Sam we have always had. When Eddie and Sam entered into the new universe, this version of Eddie is a new version of him from Dimension 2210 that Primus Richtofen killed to secure his soul and sent him to the house. However, we still have the exact same Samantha Maxis we have always had. This is the exact same version of her from the very beginning of the storyline in World at War. They may be of the same generation now, growing up together, but Eddie was born out of a need to let go of the past. Sam, however, is the embodiment of clinging. Sam, before being sent into Block 8, was possibly apart from Eddie for so long that she no longer knew who he was, or rather will be. The next two lines are questioning. What point has to be reached to bring Eddie back to her? This is also an obvious reference to the song of the same name. Where are we going? From Mob of the Dead and Blood of the Dead.
It can't be like this forever. There has to be a way to break the cycle. Either wake me up or just fucking kill me already. What did I do wrong? How do I put things right?
Kill me! Kill me right here! Right now! I'm not afraid to die!
This is interesting, as this song, featured in the two Alcatraz maps, is filled with themes of a cycle, death and rebirth, but not necessarily moving on, particularly in the 2018 version of the song. In this context, it could show Sam harboring a lack of an ability to move on, stuck in an endless cycle. She needs Eddie with her, as that's the way things were, and it's the only way she knows, growing up with him in the house together, her once best friend, there since the beginning, and even with her fighting for power over Ultimus Richtofen in the Aetherverse. Their two characters have been always intertwined. Equally, one could argue that S.A.M. the synaptic algorithm module, Sam, the AI made by Richtofen from scans of Samantha Maxis' mind herself, is physically incapable of moving on, as it is a snapshot of her at a particular point in time. Therefore, it is trapped in a mental cycle akin to the mobster's physical cycle. This section is interesting, as the meaning is initially unclear. It almost seems like Sam is bargaining with Eddie, rather than aggressively pursuing as has been in the song so far. She now feels she has something to offer, a reason for them to meet once again. The phrasing in particular evokes the notion of the way through, the concept from Black Ops 4 Zombies that was referenced explicitly in the song I Am the Well from D Machine. That was the idea of the path to a new world, free from the horrors of the ether. Here, it is as if Sam is somehow offering Richtofen a way through to the Dark Ether. Indeed, the Sam AI may have been created to harness the Dark Ether directly. This is speculation, but perhaps if Sam engineered the death of Richtofen's family, she could have done this so she could then present the solution to resurrecting them. The other side commonly referring to the afterlife.
I will destroy something.
Within Sam's head is the notion that Eddie's path is the incorrect one. While she acknowledges that the life he built is beautiful, something within tells her that she must destroy it, and that this is the right thing to do. This is explored further in the next section. I want to give you the one thing I thought I had inside. It's seemingly a reference to the song The Gift, the Revelations Easter egg song, where we hear Sam has been harboring this pain for a long time in the deepest vault of her heart. This pain, at one point, she genuinely believed she shared with Eddie. Their experiences and trauma were all shared from the beginning of the ether, stepping forth into the new world, supposedly to have new lives together. But then they went their separate ways. Now this isn't something she feels inside, it's something she thought she had inside. She knows it's no longer there because it's no longer true. And yet, in the very next line, we still see the urge to destroy. the obsession is past the point of needing a cause.
Destroy something beautiful.
Here, Sam almost says something beautiful in you, but cuts off. This is relevant later on, and perhaps suggests an uncertainty in what exactly the beautiful thing is.
In you, there's something inside that darkens everything in you and makes me feel alive. It's true.
Here, Sam admits that part of Eddie that she desires is the darkest part of his heart, the part that it would seem that Eddie has tried to rid himself of. Sam even acknowledges this, saying that it darkens everything in him. It is quite literally the part that makes him do wrong, yet it's the part that she craves. A toxic relationship, harkening back to the opening verse where she alludes to terms of addiction. This is the part she is addicted to.
I know it's a lie. I only blame myself for you and no one else.
This is incredibly interesting, as while she has just confirmed her beliefs about Eddie by saying that it's true, she immediately self-contradicts, claiming it is, in fact, a lie. Or does she? Perhaps she is saying that, at least in her view, Eddie's current persona is the lie. Furthermore, she blames herself for him, but nothing else. Is this her washing her hands of the guilt of the deaths of Eddie's family? Perhaps her perspective is along the lines of, it's my fault you've become like this, so I have to take extreme measures now. These lines seem to confirm the previous idea, with her asking for forgiveness, almost under the guise of, it's for your own good. Interestingly though, this sentence is cut off by the next one. What cuts it off is, you don't know what I feel inside. In the previous verse, she wanted to give Eddie what she thought she had inside. As I said, they had grown apart and no longer shared that trauma. She now confirms this theory, stating he has no idea what she is feeling anymore. The fact she cuts her previous thought off with this perhaps shows her thought pattern. The fact that Eddie can no longer relate to her is more important than anything else. Sam feels a great sense of joy in knowing that Eddie is no more, as at the time, she likely believed he was dead. This could just as easily be applied as being from the perspective of the Samantha Maxis AI, having just banished Eddie to the dark ether at the beginning of Liberty Falls. The line perhaps supports the notion of this being the AI Sam, or even possibly the real Sam in whatever form she is in now in the dark ether, reflecting on prior memories as she is adamant on seeing the sun once more before she passes from this world. This instrumental bridge is possibly the most important part of the song, as if we listen closely, we can hear the crackling of fire. All but confirming that this song refers to the real Samantha Maxis, at least in its majority, while some may be about the Sam AI, as this is clearly referencing the burning of Eddie's old life. Listen carefully. Finally, Sam admits that the beautiful thing is within Eddie, whereas earlier, she pulled away from making this claim. The chorus further develops, now being even more explicit. The voice heard by Sam, that convinced her to undertake the awful act, is now gone. There could be a few reasons for this. Perhaps this is after her amnesia sets in. Or, in a darker sense, perhaps this is the realization that there was no other force compelling her to destroy, but indeed, it was her own inner selfishness. Here, she says that she wants to know without any shadow of a doubt that the sun won't light Eddie's world again. Perhaps by that, she doesn't even necessarily want him dead, but wants to know that there will never be any joy in his life if he were to survive, as his absence has stripped the joy from hers. Finally, we see the true inner conflict. As some of you may have suspected, the motivating factor for Sam was love. A very twisted and unusual and toxic form of love at that, but love all the same. If we follow this line through from the previous, the full sentence is, I want to know that the sunrise will never be a light again for you and be beautiful. By destroying the beauty of Eddie's new life, she hopes to restore the darkness in him, which is the aspect she believes to be beautiful. As she says in the next line, this is precisely what she is falling for. Now this may come as a shock to some, so let me fully explain what I am suggesting. At the end of Tag der Toten, like stated, Samantha Maxis and Eddie Richtofen enter the new world. They were given a new start, a new life, which was supposed to be happier for them. Sam and Eddie, entering this universe, were around the same age and effectively grew up together, being each other's only friends. They experienced the end of the world together and the birth of a new one. Their connection, therefore, is undeniable. But at some point, Eddie went away and formed a new and happier life. In my Richtofen character analysis video, which will be linked on screen and in the description, I discussed how much of a difference parental figures made in Eddie's life compared to other versions of himself. As the stark difference between Primus Richtofen and Ultimus Richtofen was because his Primus self grew up with Maxis as a father figure, meaning that despite all prior versions of Richtofen growing up in orphanages, he was able to be a better version of himself. If we use the logic there, Sam would effectively be akin to Ultimus Richtofen, abandoned by everyone she ever cared about, as we know that she grew up in an orphanage in Germany alone. Whilst we do not have precise information on what happened during Richtofen's early life, we know that he eventually worked as a US Air Force pilot and then joined the US government, eventually placing himself as the director of Requiem. This, combined with the fact he has a more Americanized accent, means that he likely grew up in America, so there is something that separated Eddie and Richtofen in their early lives. It could be that Richtofen was chosen for adoption by someone who then took him to America, where he grew up for the remainder of his life. This allowed him to be distinct from Samantha. Samantha Maxis, stuck in the orphanage alone, was similarly stuck in the cycle of the past. She was unable to get the new happy life she was promised by the way through in entering this new universe, whereas Richtofen got a fresh start. He went on to grow up and start a family, a wife and a boy named Samuel. I think that Samantha Maxis grew resentment and jealousness over losing her endeared best friend Richtofen, and wishes she was chosen for adoption together with him. This resentment grew and grew as it built up in her life. Ultimately, it appears Sam felt compelled to do something horrible to Eddie, simply in order to try and bring him back into her life. Within her own twisted logic, perhaps she believed this would fix everything for her, restoring something that was lost. But ultimately the result was pushing Eddie over the edge, and possibly dooming the world. As we know that sometime around 1982, prior to the events of Cold War Zombies, Samantha Maxis gave intel to Weaver on a target for assassination, who was none other than Eddie Richtofen. He carried out the assassination, but failed. Richtofen survived, but scarred, after which Weaver burnt down his house to try and cover his tracks, not knowing that his family, his wife and son, were inside. They burnt to the ground. Samantha Maxis and Weaver later wept at 3 AM over their deaths and how sorry they were and how they felt this would come back to haunt them. So far, we have always speculated that we thought Samantha Maxis was acting on the orders of some other person or entity, whether that be the CIA or some other nefarious agenda. We always assumed that they just got mixed up in the wrong place. But what if we have this all wrong? And this song suggests that she may have actually done it intentionally, and she specifically targeted him out of jealousness, whether that be because she wanted him dead, injured, or whatever the case may be. We know that she promised his son Samuel that he would be safe, but failed. The thing is, we know very little about Samantha Maxis' early life and how she grew up in this new universe. Most of our experience with her has been post-Firebase C, but we can't take that judge of her character as an accurate one because she experienced amnesia. She was a different version than who she was prior to that map. As a result, maybe she actually had a darkness within her that she was holding within and we were not privy to, leading to the demise of Richtofen's family. I wonder if her intention was to kill him and send him into the dark ether, which ended up coming full circle come Liberty Falls. After all, the souls of some do end up in the dark ether. She may have wanted to draw him back in, but it went wrong, and maybe she instead secured Samuel's soul. Weaver got wrapped up in this situation, but he may have not known of Samantha's dark agenda and previous ties to Richtofen. Many people have thought maybe Samantha Maxis had amnesia during her whole life, but reassessing the Cold War intel, it seems more than likely that she just experienced that on Firebase C, and it could even be that she had her Dark Ether powers to an extent prior to Firebase C, as she always had them within the Ether story, and they merely grew much stronger due to the trauma on Firebase C and being sent into the Dark Ether, as these powers seemed to come out when Richthofen interrogated her by putting her under extreme stress and scrutiny. It could be that toxic part of her psyche allowed her to unlock her powers, and maybe she did have powers to an extent, and maybe she was even able to communicate telepathically to Richtofen's son Samuel, finding his location to send the target to Weaver. But somewhere along the lines, when she promised Samuel would be safe, she was given wrong information by him only being a young child, and didn't realize they would be in the house at the same time. Or maybe this extreme guilt that she felt was only after the amnesia on Firebase C. She was stuck in two minds. We have the Easter egg song Lost on that map that talks about her being lost between her old child self when she was in control of the zombies and brought about many atrocities, and this new version of herself.
But I don't want you to find me. I will find my own way. That's the only way that it can be.
And that could as well be her two minds, lost between the toxic love and need to be with Richthofen and the need to let go and move on. But one thing's are clear, the event of that day permanently tied Richthofen and Samantha Maxis back to the darkness of the Dark Ether once again. As even though Richthofen was starting a new life, after losing his family, he fell into a very dark, lonely, and obsessive place, where he built up Project Janus and began tampering with the Dark Ether once more in a desperate attempt to hopefully one day restore his wife and son back to him. In the process, he got revenge on Weaver, making him suffer on Terminus Island, and interrogated and abused Samantha Maxis emotionally to unlock her powers, as well as trapping her inside of the Dark Ether, again permanently tying her to the realm, unable to escape from her past. But if it's true that she targeted Richthofen intentionally, then it's the fault of her own doing. Richthofen, in creating the Samantha Maxis AI, whilst using her in an attempt to potentially try and restore his family from the moment of their death, the AI probably having memories of it too, it could also be that he has a toxic connection to her too. Even despite what she may have done, he still may have a need to feel close to her. Let me know what you think of this interpretation in the comments below. I think that many of this is about the Samantha Maxis AI, but the fact that the song clearly has the sound of flames within it definitely points that this can be from the perspective of Samantha Maxis herself. But the thing is, the Sam AI and Samantha Maxis herself of course share a lot of their memories together. So regardless of which way you interpret it, the outcome is pretty much one and the same, as they are somewhat the same people, sharing most memories. Despite the song not fully confirming who the raider is, the narrator is obsessed with them and believes that whatever they are working towards, which seems to be the narrator giving the reader the only way to the other side, can bring them closer. Again suggesting that either this could be from the motivation of the Samantha Maxis AI in pulling Richtofen into the dark ether to the other side, or could be, or simultaneously, referring to the event that Samantha Maxis and Weaver enacted on Richtofen's life. The narrator starts hearing a voice in their head that tells them that the reader is wrong. The narrator decides that by destroying something beautiful in the reader, they will give the reader something they thought they had inside. Something not beautiful. This could both be simultaneously Samantha Maxis destroying Richtofen's life, as well as from the perspective of the Sam AI taking him into the dark ether. The reader has something dark in them that the narrator can see, and the narrator blames themselves for it and feels like they need to do something about it. The reader doesn't just destroy a part of the reader, but makes them disappear. Whatever happened though is causing the narrator to start to fade away as well. The voice is now gone from the narrator's head, but they're still unsure about whatever they did to the reader being permanent. But there really is hope. If we interpret this more from the perspective of the Samantha Maxis AI, this could be about her obsession with Eddie and the belief that fulfilling his goal of traveling to the past can bring them closer to each other, if only for a limited time. From the perspective of the real Samantha Maxis, assuming she may be the one that Panos was talking to, this could be referring to her starting to telepathically communicate with the Samantha Maxis AI as well. Maxis tells the Sam AI that Eddie is wrong, which the Sam AI starts to notice that Eddie does, in fact, have some sort of darkness in him. The Sam AI sends Eddie into the dark ether, but realizes she might not even survive if all of Janice's facilities are undergoing an outbreak. Maxis is now gone from Sam's head. The Sam AI still hopes that Eddie never leaves the dark ether. And it's ironic that following the Chronorium was supposed to secure her innocence. This was a new start for the both of them, but only Richtofen got that fresh life. She was still burdened with pain, and she could not let go of it, and probably wondered why she was not able to live a better tomorrow. But Richtofen was. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Like I say, there are many ways to interpret this, and that is the beauty of Kevin Sherwood's masterful songs. There are so many ways to take them. And maybe he doesn't even have one particular interpretation in his head, but it's likely he purposefully leaves them open to many. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts below, but if my theory is correct that maybe Richtofen was separated from Sam and grew up in America, I do wonder if potentially Gabriel Kraft could have been his adopted father. And I've touched upon this a little bit in a couple videos, and that could be how he's gotten a lot of his knowledge on the dark ether to begin with. But of course we know that eventually their relationship turned sour, as Richtofen had him held captive by Ravenov under the French syndicate Moore, which we'll see play out more in Citadel Day more, which may confirm or deny this theory. But like I've said in prior videos, I may tackle this subject more in depth in the future. I think it's something that very much could be possible and would be an interesting plot twist as well, and could be how Richtofen first learned of the Sentinel artifacts from his adoptive father. Maybe they had a good life together prior to his family being destroyed. Kraft was a good man in Vanguard Zombies and likely gave him a good upbringing, a way through to a new life. But Kraft is somehow still alive, whether that's from unlocking the power of Prima Materia or Ethereum or something else. All these years later into Black Ops 6, their relationship is very different, likely after Richtofen destroyed his life after Samantha and Weaver destroyed his. He's now not the same man he used to be, and is being drawn to the darkness once more. But this theory could be totally off, of course. We'll have to see how everything unfolds very shortly with Citadel Day more. Alternatively, and potentially even more likely, Kraft maybe just served as a mentor for Richtofen, not necessarily adopting him. Without further ado though, plenty more storyline videos to come, so make sure you are subscribed to the channel because I will be pumping them out. I will see you on the next one very shortly. Bye.